Thanks for staying with us. Honorable, so there was this meeting, and it's a plan to bring together so many political parties, chairmen of political parties, 12 from the last count that we have. And at the end of the day, the trust quotient that you talked about came from a deficiency of the political class. And now this is another, opinion, another suggestion, so to speak, another option, so to speak, of a mega party alternative to the prominent ones that we have on ground now. Question then is, how is this going to be different? How is it going to build this trust quotient among so many other things? How is the MC front planning to take on the challenges of this nation?
Well, I have been through all these parties, and I know how they operate. I know the people who have, over the time, taken over the parties. I know what they aim to achieve for themselves. I know their motivations and things and so forth. And I believe that most of them are in politics not for the sake of the nation, but for the sake of themselves. And it's very, very difficult for any political party to survive under any group of people that are in politics for just themselves. There are politicians and there are politicians. And for me, what I believe is that everything has a mechanism, and everything has a system, within which things operate. We have, in a democracy, we have political parties, and these political parties are supposed to be agents of change. Apart from recruitment of leadership, political parties must also educate its members, which these parties have never been doing. I know that, you know that, and they know that. And it is necessary for me, given the way and manner that democracy has come to us, you know as well as I do, that democracy has never been historically determined here. And since that is the case, some people need to know something. You must educate people to know why it is operated and where it is expected to take people to. It's not simply ruled by civilians. There's a mechanism through which it operates. So for me, these kinds of contradictions must be identified. Identify them, which some of us have done, honestly. Identify the contradictions, identify the principal contradictions, and even the principal aspects of the contradictions. This is well known, system theory in political science, It's well known. It's not a difficult thing. Once you do that, once you identify the principal contradiction in anything, you can be able to solve it, in a very small time. And most things you see are related, but you begin to attempt to correct them in different ways. Whereas when you correct one, which is the principal contradiction, all the rest, no matter how many there are, they begin to follow suit. That is the way you do things. And up till now, successive administrations have been operating in a manner that suggested that the advisors that are being appointed are not being listened at. So for us in the NC front, National Consultative Front, We have discussed all of these problems and have accepted that unless we put things in perspective, particularly our political parties, because right in our political parties are the key with which we can open a chapter, a successful chapter in this country. If we use our political parties, we get them right, there is nothing on earth Nigerians cannot enjoy. But we have already obliterated all the good things that the political parties are supposed to confer on us, particularly internal democracy. Internal democracy is pervasive. Its obliteration is pervasive. Let me make an analogy with the health sciences. In the health sciences, you have what people call diabetes, type 2 diabetes, which is characterized by insulin resistance. In your ordinary biology, insulin is what escorts glucose in the system to the cells. And because of insulin resistance, the inability of the glucose to get into the cells, because the cells are filled up by junk, mostly sugar. Over time, people begin to develop hypertension, coronary heart disease, kidney failure, Alzheimer's disease, hyperlipidemia, fatty liver disease, blindness, everything every disease under the sun. The organs of human beings become under attack because of insulin resistance. That is what happens to any polity that obliterates internal democracy. And we may not have all the time it takes for me to be able to explain these dynamics, but simply put, each political party, when it is going to contest for elections, engages in what is called primary election. And the mechanism is that anybody who wants to contest will come and expose himself to the members of the party, and so that they are able to know him and assess him or her. And after such process, people now are able to assess and elect whoever they want. You see, it is in that competition is very, very important. Its outcome is very, very important. What that means is that, the intellect counts.
Right.
Today, in this country, in all these political parties, you find out that the basis for the emergence of candidates is sycophancy or money. You either buy or you become a sycophant. And this does not allow, the intellect to flourish. That is why you see that the political parties have not grown. Even the economic system is suffering. It has not grown. In the last 20 years, what we are seeing is quantitative changes in the economy. But there has not been any qualitative change in the people. The social system has become atrophied. This is manifested by all you are noticing, all you are witnessing, from banditry to insurgency. Insurgency has escalated. Banditry, when in the last 5 years, banditry has escalated from the northwest to the north central, and both parts of the north central. If you go to Niger State on this hand, Nasarawa State on the other hand. So all of these are escalating. People cannot travel from place to place without fear. Everybody fears to be on the road. So these things are escalating. And unless we give premium to a system where recruitment of leadership will be on a competitive basis, which will now give you competent people to serve you as leaders or to serve us as leaders. You see, these kinds of things are very, very important. We must look at them, and we must not take them for granted. Those who are committing these atrocities, asphyxiating the political parties, are enjoying it. And they are the ones, they are the people that have thrown us into this situation.
Well, speaking of the recruitment process,
society hailed them.
Right. If I can just, latch on to the recruitment process which you referenced, because, looking at that presser which was released from the NC front saying that, this is a conscious effort to provide a credible, ideological, mega-political party alternative to rescue Nigeria from the predatory and disastrous grip of the ruling political leadership. And you mentioned specifically the APC and the PDP. Earlier on in the conversation, you talked about a certain hijacking since 1999, and you should know better because you've been in government. So does that imply that ever since 1999, the leadership recruitment process has not really provided or resulted in effective, efficient, or appropriate leader for Nigeria?
You see, after the elections in 1999, almost 80% of all elections have been faulty due to the way and manner the political parties are reduced to. The political parties have been reduced to just platforms for the contest of elections. And for those who control the political parties to recruit whoever they like to serve anywhere. And that is why today you see that the polity is not vibrant. If you compare, for example, let's take the National Assembly, for example. You cannot compare the National Assembly of 1999, with all its imperfections, with successive national assemblies, because there has been this attitude from 1999 by especially those in the executive arm, that when the potential for the legislature to take the executive arm to account was noticed, conscious effort was made by them to dwarf or to destroy the legislature. And the tool they chose to implement that was the political parties, by denying the opportunity for free and fair elections within the parties. They asphyxiated the parties in such a way that unless they like a particular person, he can never win an election in the party or in the parties. And so they populated the legislature with as many people as possible to do their bidding. And that is what has been taking place since then. So it's very difficult for legislators to sit down and serve independently, because whatever you do, particularly if it's going to be against the government of the day, whether it is the federal government or the state, they will tell you that, look, will not give you ticket again. Even the nomenclature has changed. Nobody asks who wins a primary election today. People rather ask who is given the ticket. So we have virtually lost this democracy. So what we are trying to do is to bring these political parties together and the actors that have incorporated them, engage, intellectually and accept that we cannot run political parties the way they are being run by PDP and APC. We must operate by the norms.
Okay, so, but Honorable, if I could just jump in.
Only way.
Okay, now, yes, you've given that analogy, but the thing is, if you say you can't operate like the PDP and the APC, these parties still have what they refer to as the structure to, quote and unquote, win elections or to bring themselves back into power. How is this NC front going to be any different?
Well, we see, first of all, the fallacy we always go into is to always emphasize winning election. Look, we have a country that is not being run well, and we know the problems, and we are trying to get away from the problems. We must face these problems, and it's not all about winning election. It's about forming proper political parties that will be able to assist, support governance, good governance. And if we don't start, we are late. And if we don't start now, when are we going to start? Are you telling me that these parties are being operated the way they should, political parties should be operated? So it's not about winning elections. It's about, resetting our country so that we can reverse all of these negative things, negative questions bedeviling us.
So, but
this is why we are doing these things.
How do you reset the system if you're not in that position to carry out that reset?
Well, everybody is supposed to contribute. I'm doing my duty. My duty, I've been through the system. I know what the system suffers from. I have the ability, I have the understanding, and I'm just doing my duty. So others should also do their duty.
Well, one of the things that's been proposed by the NC front is it's either we have a new constitution or we don't have elections. That's the way it seems to be put out. How do you intend to achieve that? You said the other time that it's really difficult to have governors who are independent-minded without their governors. And there has been so much talk over time about the defectiveness of the 1999 constitution that we're operating now. So what's the pathway to that new constitution being proposed by the NC front without the National Assembly?
Well, you see, the issue of constitution is different. Let us discuss electoral matters. I believe that stiff sanctions must be imposed on anybody, no matter how highly placed, anybody who obstructs elections within the political parties. Each political party has a time when it elects its officers. It's called Congress. During these congresses, elections take place for people who will run the activities of the political parties. These elections must be allowed to take place. And the elections must take place, within the parameters of fairness and freedom. Any governor or whoever it is who obstructs this must be sanctioned by the law. Then primary elections to contest for general elections also. No primary elections must take place in any government house in this country. Primary elections must take place either at the headquarters of the political party in question or at designated places where the political party feels elections can take place freely and fairly. You know, anybody who obstructs this must go through a very must go through sanctions, very stiff sanctions. And these things we must look at. We must we must not take these things for granted. We are taking things lightly. That is why we are having bad governance. So we have to look at these things very, very critically. The issue of constitution, you know that a lot of people have been calling for the restructuring of the country. And I don't fault them. I believe that after many, many years living together, it's not you know, it's not bad to look at what would look at the basis within which we live together, and see whether things are right or wrong, whether it's working, whether the system is working for everybody or is not working for everybody. You know, sincere living means that we must look after one another.
Right.
And I believe it is our responsibility as human beings, you know, to do whatever it takes to help others live. And I believe that once there are cries from certain quarters that they are not comfortable, you know, we must look at the basis, you know, the basis within which we live.
Right. Honorable.
And, I believe that we can do with some restructure.
Right.
And
you know,
there are
when
a lot
we
of
talk
things
about
that can be done to better governance.
Okay, well, some of the things you suggested in that presser was that, you know, Nigerians should resist a new election without a new people's constitution. And I believe you're referring to the 2023 election. And you said that without a people's constitution, rather, that can guarantee biometric voter accreditation, electronic voting, counting and transmission of results, as well as diaspora voting, as well as other issues which perhaps you will unveil in the coming days. So 2 quick issues to raise. If you say that this is not really about winning elections, clearly you're saying that this is not ahead of 2023. Am I right?
Well, what I'm saying is that we should not be putting the cart before the horse. That Nigeria must have proper political parties. Even if we are going to contest for elections, it does not mean we must jettison what we believe must be in place in our political parties. We must not abandon due process in our political parties, no matter what is at stake. And everything you see, you have enumerated there, these are our wishes, things we want to see happen. There are people who don't want to see those things you enumerated happen. We have them. It's a Herculean task. It's not as simple as that. So it's a process that have to be very rigorous, that will involve consultations with so many other people. We are not doing things alone. We are involving a lot of people who we believe will be sympathetic to this cause. You know, this is all in our effort to better our country.
You know, the move thinking, okay, this is part of the jostle for 2023. But when you say that the major, I mean, what you're looking to achieve first is to have proper political parties, that is clearly a dent on the APC and the PDP. And I mean, those have been vehicles that you have also been a part of. So is that a dent?
Well, you can you can call it anything. All I know is that I have been through these parties. I know the way they operate. I know the way they have been subjugating people, you know, to various difficulties whenever people want to contest for elections. I know what is happening in all the parties. And you know that. I know that. Everybody knows that these parties are not operating, are not being operated the way they should be operated. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that.
Well, we could go on this conversation, right, Honorable, but, I mean, you're definitely asking Nigerians to have a rethink of so many things that we have done over the past 21 years and counting. But at this time, we can only expect that this nation, everyone, as you said, will put all hands on deck to make it better. Right, Honorable Galina Abba, former Speaker, House of Representatives, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts this morning.
Thank you very much. You are welcome.